Hi, guys. Welcome to this episode of The Trainer Feed. We are your hosts. I am Angel Sanchez. We have JD, Jack Delagere,
What's going on, everybody?
and we have DB, David
What's up?
Bravo.
Hello.
Today, we're going to kind of freestyle a little bit, shoot from the hip. There's a couple of fitness topics, but then there's also some other topics that are not fitness related. So we'll save the fitness topics for the later half. I feel like that will be a little bit more entertaining because people hear us talk about squats and barbells and don't do this and wear your mask. So we'll talk about some other stuff first. Do you guys want to start? I can start. I got a couple of things on my mind.
Shoot.
I don't mind. Whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
You ever watch a documentary and then you're like floored on how so many things in your life have been run a certain way and you're just like, damn, maybe I should make some change. And then you get like super motivated and then it probably lasts for like a week and then you stop.
Some stuff, yeah.
I just saw this documentary called American Factory. Have you guys watched that?
No.
It's on Netflix.
Is it like
American Factory.
Food Inc?
I don't know because I haven't watched Food Inc.
Food Inc is a tough one.
All right, so this one's not that tough.
It just shits on people that eat meat.
Yeah, I try to stay away from those so that way I just don't jump off a bridge. But
I know I happily.
I
eat
should
meat
probably.
even after Food Inc.
You were
So-
eating meat while watching Food
Yep.
Inc. Like doubling down.
Yep.
No, but this one was about like an American factory in Ohio. So Dayton, Ohio, and then I think it was formerly run by GM, and then it closed down, and 10,000 people in that area lost their jobs, and then a Chinese investor came and started investing in that company to rebuild it under that name. I think it's called Fuyao, and it was like
What
a
year
glass.
was this?
I think it was in like the 2010s. So 2010, I know they were talking about they just started hitting profits in 2018 or making profits in 2018. But it was pretty wild because when the investor came, like it was still run by an American. They had an American president and then all that other stuff. But then after they realized that the American workers weren't, producing, there was the Chinese counterpart that was in China, and they took some of the managers over, and it was run like a machine. And when speaking to some of the workers there, they were like, yeah, I'm not going to see my family for a year. I have like 1 week where I get to see my family, but they live in a different town. So I just work 12-hour shifts, just doing what I got to do, create the glass, and then that's it. And I was just like floored. Like I was thinking about, all these things that I kind of take for granted. I don't want to speak for you guys, but I take it for granted, seeing family pretty often and working reasonable hours. But in some other places, it's not that case. And then they also brought some Chinese workers over as well. And that was pretty wild because they were like, I don't have time to eat. I just eat Twinkies. I'll eat Twinkies to just keep me up. But these guys, they want to sit there and eat and talk all day. It's like, there's no work that is getting done.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway.
And that kind of made you think of or reflect in certain ways.
Yeah, it made me reflect. I just started cleaning the bathroom, hands and knees. It sounds pretty ridiculous, but I started like saying, there's so many inefficiencies, so many things that I just think, I'll do it tomorrow. Whatever. There's people out there just busting it out every day, 12-hour shifts, no joke, just grinding hard. And I'm just like, I say, I work hard. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to sleep. But it's like, I don't really work that hard. I should be working harder. But
I think
maybe I took the documentary the wrong way. Maybe it made me think differently.
Angel's like, I'm gonna get 2 jobs tomorrow on top of my current one.
Yeah,
I think
I'll just get Twinkies.
he's like ordered boxes of Twinkies by a bunch. I think something that's interesting is
I miss Twinkies.
Twinkies. I haven't had one in a long time.
Shout out to Twinkies. Shout out to Hostess. Didn't they go under? Where do you get those Twinkies from?
Maybe they ordered in bulk and they still have some left.
Like
But
that
it makes me
Family Guy
think.
episode. Go ahead.
What's the Family Guy? No, go on. What's the Family Guy episode?
No, a Family Guy episode where like the world ended and then there was nothing else to eat except Twinkies.
Yeah.
Because Twinkies were the only thing that survived. Like the
Survived.
nuclear explosion or whatever.
So much crap with them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my god! It makes me think of when you talk about how hard we work, and it's funny because if we reflect to 18 months ago, obviously pre-COVID, how much more we were working, or how we were all pretty much in the club at 6 a.m. And I think just based on our conversations, when we're in the club early or when we're up early, it's either not up every single day at the same time, or there's some days that differ. I think it just makes us realize. I think we can talk about when Chloe came on as well, that you realize, oh, actually, I need more sleep, or you don't realize how hard we were working. I mean, I think to be sure, there are people that work harder than us or longer, right? Whatever way you want to describe it. But coming back into it now, when we do get those busier days, I just try and compare it to a day prior to COVID. I'm thinking, I mean, I think most days I was back to back in the morning from 6 a.m. to like noon or 1 o'clock with an hour here or there, but it was it was like 6 to 7 sessions between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. And now it's more like 5. And that's still like depending on the day, obviously, right? But I get bigger breaks, I think, more than that than when I used to when I was pre-COVID. But it still makes you think like it was, yeah. I think people work. But there was something really interesting that when I spoke to my doctor about, he mentioned something about like he does surgery between 7 and 3, and I was like, oh, I would have thought that a surgeon would be there all day, like from early until late. And he said something along the lines of, you don't get paid to stay working here longer. Like, you don't get paid to work longer. You just get paid to do the job well or efficiently. It was something along those lines. And like I said, he'd be out by 3 p.m. And he's like, yeah, I tell my kids, like, I'm out by 3. Like, I get in early, I do my job, I do it efficiently, and that's it. And he's a top earning surgeon. It doesn't mean he has to be there all day, every day. He just has to be efficient with time. And that's, I also think of that as well. When you talk about people working hard, like, it's credit to them that can do it because it's not easy. Like, I know when I speak, we all have clients that they literally, from if they have a 6 a.m. session with us, the moment they leave, they're emailing, they're making calls, right, at say 7 a.m., and they don't stop till 12 hours later. Now that, and it's stuff like that where I'm thinking, oh, like, I think, oh man, like I can't even begin to sympathize with him, you know, or her, whoever it is. So I think of that. And I also think about like what my doctor said, like, you're just efficient at the time given, but it's not always your choice, right? It just depends on the situation.
Yeah, that's true. There was another part to it. And again, I think that I took documentary in a different way. I think one of the ways is just to say like there are very big differences and human beings are very similar, but sometimes culturally or sometimes your environment has a big part to say in how you do things and how you feel about them, right? And sometimes feelings are just not even part of the equation, right? Like people don't care how you feel about it. It's just like you have to do this. But another part that they started speaking about was automation and how they said 235 million workers will lose their jobs due to automation in 2030. That's an estimation, obviously, estimate. So I was thinking about that, and I heard some stuff about that with truck driving. Like the truck driving industry is a really big thing. Obviously factories, because in the documentary they got surprised, they got rid of a lot of people and replaced them with robots. But you can even see that in your local CVS, pharmacy or whatever. Like people are being replaced by these robots that nobody knows how to use, by the way. But
that's another thing entirely.
Do you guys think, and I'll pass it to you guys and I'll mute myself because this ambulance, but do you guys think that we're at risk being in the fitness industry with automation? Maybe not automation in the sense like a machine will be training people and cueing people and stamping their body down into a plank, but in terms of competing with computers?
Personally, I think, yeah, I'm seeing what Dave's reaction. I'm thinking no, and I think the COVID, we keep mentioning COVID, but the COVID happening, I want to say prove that the health and industry needs their trainers. You could pay a robot to give you a workout, to see your form, but if, and this is assuming a robot doesn't become this I wouldn't say complicated, but talented enough that it can respond to very various responses from a human body when they say, oh, I'm seeing that your legs aren't both identical lengths. So when you hinge, you are going to have one hip higher than the other, right? Unless they get that detail. I think that's when you talk to your client and you say, how did you sleep last night? Oh, I slept like crap, and because they have a newborn, like you're already getting this feedback that their body isn't fully recovered, this body isn't fully ready to go, and they're not in their optimal state. So you're making the observation. I don't know if that like automated machine or whatever is going to be able to detect and have those conversations and make those kinds of remarks. So I think that stance is going to be difficult, and I think similar to the stance that when you speak to some clients now who didn't want to do virtual training, they just want that in-person interaction, right? I do think that it was interesting where these companies, whether it was Tonal or Mirror, they were really good. You have that mirror and you do your whole workout. But at the end of the day, I think some people just wanted to have that in-person interaction. So personally, I think you might see some success with it. But I think at the end of the day, it's like people who like to still read the newspapers. You could read the news in an iPad, an iPhone, but there are people that just prefer to read paper, and that doesn't, regardless of how technology is evolving. So I think that I'm sure there'll be some turnover, but I think the better ones or the most transparent ones will be fine. That's my personal feel. I don't know how you feel, David.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. Like I think people are very social people. Everyone's very social, and they're gonna want that attention and that dialogue with the person when it comes to working out and stuff. And also asking about all the important questions like how much did you sleep? How's your stress level? How's this? How's that? And the robot really isn't going to be doing that we know of yet. So I don't think that's going to happen. The only thing will happen is virtual stuff. People want to be doing stuff online. And you could kind of maybe consider that the whole thing about, oh yeah, it's going to be automated, but other than that, I think people are gonna still want to hang out and see each other. So
I've been doing a lot of virtuals and I've been enjoying the transition. It's been interesting to kind of take a step back and have to focus on cues and communications. A lot of our guests have already spoken about that. And with Tonal or Mirror and these competitors that are marketing program like the cookie cutter program for the person, I think the biggest challenge for us is to be able to have something that is more representative to that one-on-one communication and one-on-one in-person stuff, because that's something that it can't necessarily replicate yet. Again, like I think you guys are right. It's to the point where right now it doesn't really adjust for you feeling bad or you not sleeping well, or even your form for some of these things. It just doesn't even look at that. It's just like do this and then whatever outcome happens. But one of the things that I do with a lot of my clients, not only virtually but in person as well, I think it started in person and I started being more aware of it when I started doing virtuals, is I always ask them, how's your body feeling? Like I ask them how are they doing and how's everything else, but then right before we start the program, the first question I ask right before is how's your body doing? And sometimes people give me like weird answers,
like,
but
nah, I don't care. How's your body doing?
right, they're like it's okay,
Yeah,
or
that's
like it's fine.
on a scale
But
of 1 to 10. How's it feel? Okay, yeah.
no, but a lot of my clients started to, like, at first it was just that thing and they were probably like, this guy's weird asking me how my body's feeling. But now over time, at least, the year doing virtuals, they started to understand that it is a really good question to ask before they start to move, because I don't know how their body's going to respond to the program that I have put together for them today. And if I have them go through everything just like that and they're tired or hungover or they got beat up or fell down some stairs, I don't know that. And they might forget it. And now you get asked that question. Nobody else is going to ask you that question. And when's the last time you woke up and your girlfriend, fiance, or partner asked you, how's your, well, that's a different podcast, or they ask you, how's your body feeling? And you're just like, that almost never happens, right? So we are in the fitness industry and we really work with bodies. And
Dude, I had a client come in and I see him like a fucking black eye and like his face is all busted up. I'm like, the fuck happened to you? He's like, oh, you know, the bouncer threw me on the ground, and I'm like, oh my god.
God, say no more.
A bouncer?
He got into like some shit when he was drunk, and I said, all right, dude, well, let's go do these squats,
Let's go for your face pulls.
right?
Getting flashbacks. Add to the trauma. David likes to add to the trauma early. That way they kind of normalize it, and then they're just fine after.
Yeah, that's how I learned.
Damn. Let's talk about it. No, let's not.
Shall I transition into some of the things I thought we could discuss?
Yeah,
today?
I got some fitness stuff later on, but go ahead.
Okay, this is fitness related, but I figured I'd throw this in now. So
Go for it.
Frequently, I follow a lot of trainers and professionals that work with athletes just because it's good to broaden the scope of learning, in my opinion, in terms of what I see. Not all of it is, how should I put it? It's specific for different people as well, so athletes. But I find, so what I started thinking of when we're having this episode coming up, let's say you get a client who is an NFL or NBA or NHL or even MLS, right, player, and they have, I don't have anyone. I'd love to. I'd hope this is the case, Jack? Or even tennis, right? But let's say you have that athlete come to you, right? Because we've all seen these athletes that come to the clubs or come to the city for a couple of months. I know that when the US Open comes, these guys come in for 2 weeks, and it's not that the 2 weeks with you is guaranteed, right? Or what the scenario might be. But let's say you have that client. Like, what are you guys, let's say you have 2 months of work together. Like, how are you communicating, how you guys are going to work? Like, what are you already focusing on? Someone's already an athlete. There's bound to be some areas of opportunity, but I'd love to hear what you guys had to think, would think about doing, frequency, all that sort of thing. I kind of want to pick your brains. And for our listeners, because we see a lot of this stuff on social media, but from trainers' perspectives, like, how would you start to just design that structure, that program for them?
Well, as a certified strength and conditioning specialist.
Yes, boys.
I was actually going to say, before you even think about that, how would you do it? So Roger Federer, he's your guy, right? That's your boy?
I love Roger Federer, but I would have thought like Andy Murray.
All right, Andy Murray. So let's say
he's had
Andy
injuries as well. So
right,
yeah.
Andy Murray, he comes into town, he hits up JD and he's like, hey, listen, I want to train these days, these times. And you got clients, you got a full book, right? How do you deal with that? Do you tell the clients, listen, man, I got a once in a lifetime opportunity to work with the God. So y'all gonna have to work with David for the next 2 weeks. Like, scheduling wise must be a pain in the ass, right? Because these people are in and out.
But and they're short term, but I think and I say this just because I know, I always forget the name of this gentleman, but I know of this guy that, I don't know what facility he was at downtown, but he worked with Carmelo Anthony when he was with the Knicks, and he trained Carmelo. I don't know how often, for how long a period of time, but then once he trained with Carmelo put him onto all these other NBA players. And then you become this guy. It's like, for example, I follow Odell Beckham's trainer, Jamal Ligon, I think his name is. Now, Odell was training with him before he was in the NFL, when he was in college, right? So people who knew college football would know who Odell Beckham was. But Odell Beckham, it's fair to say, is way more known now than he was when he's entering the league, right? Like, he was a first round pick. But the point is, the fact that Odell Beckham is like an absolute freak of a specimen on the field, and they go, okay, this is his coach. So, you assume that part of his development is due to the coach, which is a natural thing. So then you get all these names, and I see now this trainer gets like some, if not most, of the best players in the league. It's like Derrick Henry, right? Absolute monster. Derrick Henry is number 22 of the Titans. He's just an absolute beast. And he has some really interesting workouts as well. Now, I think the same trainer trains him, but also trains Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott of the Cowboys, and then some of the other guys. So all I'm saying is, sometimes all you need is one, and then, but going back to your point with scheduling, it's difficult. But I think if your long-term clients understand the opportunities to better use a trainer, because you could only learn. You can only come out of that as a better trainer, and
it's a very unique opportunity.
Relay that information you've learned from working with that client to others, right? You can say, these are some things I learned, or it's only going to better you as a trainer, as a coach, and better their experience of them training with you.
Right. And it helps to have a network too. Like in that instance,
Absolutely.
if, you know, Andy Murray comes in, then you can refer, say, hey, train with David for these next couple of weeks.
This is my
because
guy.
I'm going to open this unique opportunity just came to me. I need to, as a young professional, I think it's really important for me to blah, blah, blah. Just being honest and transparent. I think that would be the way to do it. Not be like, nah, I'm gonna be sick for the next 2 weeks, but
I'm sick. Don't look at my don't look at my Instagram. Whatever.
Don't look at my Instagram. Just
every day. Yeah.
Block all your clients.
But like you said, most of your clients want the best for you as you want the best for them.
True that. I was gonna say, so from the programming standpoint, I think it's important to have the conversation with the athlete about there's a couple of conversations. One is that you should know, similar to what David's preached almost every episode, if you want to get better at the sport, play the sport.
Right.
But if there are certain aspects of that person's game or aspects of like they have some imbalances that you might want to work on that could lead to injury, it's your expertise, right? So you should be able to not only assess that athlete as a client and then be able to program for those discrepancies, but also communicate to them what the plan is, what you're going to do, and how it's going to benefit them either for their game or for their life after the game. So I think that's an important thing to do, as well as communicating with any coaches that they're working with. So that way you guys aren't stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
So they're not covering, like you're not just doing the same thing that they've been doing all day. If they're going to do a bunch of stability work, like you're not just focusing on more stability work unless they necessarily need it. Like you want to make sure that you're giving them adequate stimulation. So first, like David just like slowly rolled it up. First, be able to communicate be transparent with that person. If you're going to get better at the sport, you just got to keep playing. Second, be able to assess, find those asymmetries, discrepancies, those missing holes, and then communicate that to the athlete and understand that the athlete it might be beneficial for that athlete, right? Like a boxer might need to be internally rotated at the shoulders. You don't want to like open them up and then have them get knocked out first round, right? Like you want to be able to
unless you're Logan Paul's trainer, then please teach him wrong shit so you get knocked out.
All I know is that trainer made a lot of money regardless of what he did.
So much money, man.
So much bank.
Ridiculous.
So much bank. But yeah, so yeah, find those holes, communicate that to the athlete, say these are the holes. This is the plan to kind of fix these areas, and then also communicate with the coaches that they're working with to say, this is what this athlete, these are the discrepancies that I found. This is what I would like to work on, and this is my plan. Does that work with yours? Are we working synergistically, or are we working, are we clashing? And then go from there.
You mentioned the symmetry thing, which is really interesting as well. I think someone at one of the earlier workshops of FMS pointed out, I know who is, spoke about baseball players, right? With the asymmetry and their shoulder mobility from their pitching arm to their non-pitching arm, right? So that's a very good point.
Cressy?
He does a lot of baseball stuff.
It might be, but I
want the MLB.
I want to say it might have been someone else, but they spoke about one arm being more externally rotated than the other, and it's similar with, say, possibly that you mentioned like tennis players, right? One side is because it's a sport that's dominantly used with one arm, with one limb, and hit from one side. It's like golf, you swing from one side to the other, you don't ever swing the other way. And going on that note, I that's exactly what I thought you said, Angel, about like finding the asymmetries as areas of opportunity. If someone doesn't have a good release, or they dominantly take off of one foot, but if it's a sport that requires them to be able to take off effectively off both sides, right, from left to right or left to or right to left, sorry, then that's an area of opportunity. But as you said, some sports want that asymmetry. It's like a quarterback's another example, right? They always throw from one side, unless you're Patrick Mahomes and you just are like, you defy nature, you just throw whichever hand and don't even look for the ball. That's a different thing. But that's something I thought of. David, I was curious on your thoughts as well.
Wouldn't you want a quarterback that's ambidextrous so you can like get out of tight
Who
situations?
Mahomes is almost ambidextrous.
That'd be so fucking cool.
David's
just-
gonna have him do drawing exercises with both hands.
I mean, blind.
Blindfold them and then have two pens and be like, you want to create. If it's an athlete, you can go out. You'd be like iPad Pro and then like the Apple Pen or something like that. Like draw the same circle. Don't mess up.
It makes me think of David mentioned rugby when Keith was on, right? So England won the World Cup in 2003, and they really won it because one of their players really improved from the last 2 or 3 years prior to the World Cup. Long story short, he was left-footed, so he kicks the ball with his left foot. This puts into perspective as to how hard he worked on his weak side. He won the winning kick with 30 seconds to go, like in overtime, with his weaker foot. But it's the fact that he worked so hard. And if David, you've played like football as well, right? Soccer. It's so, and Angel, I'm sure you've thrown up like your weaker hand. It feels so odd, right? It feels weird. It feels you can't do it. But this guy at the height of pressure, really when everyone's watching you and expecting you think you go for it, but just because of the position of the field or where he was receiving the ball from, he had to go on his weaker side. But the fact is, you can argue, some people you would even argue that when they practice their weaker side so much, that it might even become better because they've had to work on it harder. And I think it's the same I also think in hockey as well, when like there's some guys that like you think they're so good at all these skills that you didn't think they had a weakness, and then they spend like the whole summer working on something. It's like, wow, I didn't think that guy was ever good at this, but now he's like an absolute legend. And as you mentioned as well, you just get better at playing the sport. But I hear these athletes, and it's like, who was the other one? Like certain offensive linemen having to change the way they not read the play, but like a guard to a tackle to a center have different roles, right? And that's why when they change them along the line, that's what happened to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They had to take one guy got injured, so they had to like have 3 moving pieces. And it just like, can you learn a position in 2 weeks? Not so much learn a position, but they're different roles. I don't even know where I was going with this.
Super Bowl was trash.
Super Bowl was terrible. The one before was good.
I knew it. Old Bay had it. Young Bay.
All I'm saying is,
couldn't handle it.
I didn't know they had chocolate Twinkies.
You just found out.
Are they in Japan? Japan has all these crazy weird flavors for
flavors. Yeah,
they have chocolate Twinkies and banana Twinkies.
But you talk about the apocalypse, right? That they survived the apocalypse. Did you ever see that?
I think that's some myth, bro. I don't think Twinkies actually last.
No. This nuclear warfare. You're not gonna.
Well, did you ever see?
Roaches though. Roaches can.
Roaches and Twinkies.
Not the same roaches. The first roaches are gonna be the what would you call it? The epimycium. The epimycium roaches are gonna be blasted away.
Dude, it says the
surface roaches.
It only has a shelf life of 26 days, bro.
What does?
The Twinkie.
Well, in Zombieland with Woody Harrelson, did you guys see that movie?
Wait, 26 days? Is that in the package or out the package?
Good question.
That's probably out of the package.
That's out the package.
Yeah.
Because then you kick that thing, it's like a freaking rock. You can use that shit as a doorstop.
Yeah. He breaks some windows of that.
Oh yeah.
In Zombieland though, it's pretty much the apocalypse. Everyone's a zombie. Woody Harrelson and like 4 other. I can't remember who the actors are. Actresses even, but like he just goes looking for Twinkies because they're the only thing to survive.
Yeah. And I remember. I think I saw part of that. I didn't see the whole movie, but
it's good. It's
fun.
there, but
I saw Ragnarok on Netflix.
Oh, it's good, right?
It's pretty good.
I know him. We work together.
Yeah.
Maybe that fucks him up. Oh, that movie.
Dude,
and
England,
what's his name?
Plays Scotland today.
I know. Have you? I'm not torn. I don't have any affinity to England. I have no affinity to England.
Lying, bro.
Have you seen the videos, Angel? So, long and short, at the Euro competition right now, England are hosting Scotland, and all these fans from, let's say, Glasgow and one of these Scottish cities or wherever, they've come down to London, and the game is at 8 p.m. local time, and these fans are just like causing havoc in the city. And not about causing havoc, they're just chanting, but there's a really public fountain.
Right now, with COVID and all that too?
100% right now. I'll send you guys videos after this. There's
a
video of
Indian
them.
strain. They need to stop playing.
Yeah, they just like, I mean, it's also like here, we've been doing it for over a year. Everyone's a little fed up, but there's videos of them in the fountain with like bath soap and just like making the fountain into like a foamy bath. You all right, David?
That's a sneeze.
But yeah, a little bit of chaos. I'm not torn. France's Germany game was absolutely dreadful. Some of these games I'm watching, I was like earlier, it was like Slovakia versus Sweden. I was like, this is
Belgium and Denmark had a good game.
Yeah, 2-1.
You know what?
I'm
gonna call it. You guys are watching these football games.
Go on, call
while
it what?
training clients.
No,
they're at crazy hours, right? Like the other day, my client was like, "Oh, are you watching these games?"
Stop telling our secrets.
I'm not watching them during a client.
Nah, he was like, my client. He was like, "Oh, you're not watching this?" I was like, "I haven't had the time to like watch any games, like at all."
Say though, when
9 a.m., noon, and 3 p.m.
Ecuador was playing this,
but aren't they like 2 hours, 3 hours?
An hour and a half, but like it typically, like this game at 3 will be done by like 4:45.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. And the other day I saw David on the street and he was watching the game. He was actually walking with Sam and they were talking or whatever, but they was just watching the game.
Ecuador was playing Colombia on Sunday. I watched the tail end of that, but there's no fans, so no fans seeing it all.
Venezuela on Sunday.
When Sunday?
They played Colombia last Sunday. We were dreadful.
It's a boring game.
We're so fucking bad.
My doormen are Ecuadorian, right? And there's one of them that talks less than the other. And I was like, "Oh, you're watching the game?" He's like, he nods. I was like, "When is the next one?" He's like, I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, it's Sunday." He's like, so I'm like, you guys haven't met him.
Argentina plays Uruguay today.
Today?
That'll be a good one.
What's 8 o'clock today? Oh, I'm watching the NHL as well. Oh, fucking boys.
That's ESPN?
Yeah, ESPN.
Okay. I'll throw
Watch
something
both,
on.
bro.
I'll try it out. It's just
but it also depends what game you put on. Like today, England, Scotland at 3 p.m. will be a good game because there's genuine hate on those teams. And the crowds will be bananas. But if you put on, like I mentioned, Slovakia, Sweden, it was like, or like Hungary, Portugal, like who's the other
to
game?
Watch Ukraine versus Russia.
Yeah, see that will be heated, I imagine. Yeah. So that would be watching.
Question. So I went out last night. And
as you can tell by my voice.
Yeah, had a great time, and the bartender is Irish, and I mentioned if they were gonna have the game today, and he's like, "Yeah, we are." He says, I'm gonna be going for Scotland.
Yeah,
he's like, because I'm Irish. I'm like, and how does that make sense? I don't know.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
So in the UK or Great Britain, the Welsh, Scottish, and Irish all originally have Celtic heritage, right? So they're the one. So kilts actually originate from Ireland, not Scotland. People don't know that. It's actually from Ireland, but then so you also have Celts, so not Celtic, but they have a language, Gaelic, and it's just those 3 countries. It's not England. So it's more common that when one of them is playing England, the affinity is for the team that's also Celtic origins.
So not the oppressor.
So not England. There's jokes that say everyone but England or whatever, but it's usually you can ask Keith this, right? He'll tell you the same thing. That it's like because it's Scotland, right? They're just close in heritage. They're closer, really. Like I mentioned, they both used to wear kilts. The Welsh are not as close in terms of like history-wise. That's just my understanding based on like what like my mom and dad have told me. But that's my mom, yeah, not my mom. But they'll tell you.
Who says mom?
Mom.
I guess in your Midwest, mom.
But when you text, you put MOM, right? My mom. So mom, it's me.
Mom. How about dad? Dud.
That's actually a good one. No, but the Americans will call it Dodd, because it's DAD, right?
Who the fuck says it like that?
The Americans change everything.
It's dad, bro. Who says
bro?
Yeah, but I'm saying that in the UK we say mom and dad. It's in the US because you call it mom, apple.
There you go, dad.
No. You're not understanding what I'm saying. Because the Americans change everything in terms of if it's mom, you guys make it mom. So you would change dad to dude or something. I don't know.
Well, me and David just got here, so we can't really say that much.
You guys calling your dad dude? That's actually how they would say in Scottish. Oh man.
Oh really?
Yeah. They say the dug. The dug is how you say dog. D-U-G. You got. I gotta show you some Scottish stuff. It's so funny.
That's funny.
Oh man,
I call
Yeah,
my
hilarious.
mom.
Mommy. No.
No.
Nah,
like
that's for something else.
That's different. Chuck. That's kind of
Actually,
that's
it's coming back to
disgusting.
me. Yeah.
Nah, it's just ma.
Like
Ma.
I hardly say like mom. You know, like I just be like ma. That's it.
ma. Say dad. Ba.
Da. Ba.
Nah, I said dad.
You say dad.
No, I say ba.
You say
You say
ba.
pa? Yeah.
Because I say papi.
Papi.
Hey.
Hey.
Happy
Is
Bravo.
Is it his birthday soon?
Dude, so yesterday, Father's Day is on Sunday, right?
There you go.
So I call
Third
my
birthday.
mom. I call my mom and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm here with your dad. We're eating. I'm
Celebrate
like, all right.
birthday.
So I'm like, what's dad's shoe size? I want to get him running sneakers. And then you hear my dad, don't get me no fucking sneakers.
Yo, how tired must dads be from getting fucking shoes and loafers and sandals?
No, but the thing is I'm like, Ma, are you on fucking speakerphone? She's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, come on, bro.
Slipping.
So I
They
don't
don't
know
understand like the speaker and no speaker situation.
That's true.
You know,
Hispanic mothers,
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard to get
Actually,
that
well,
disconnection.
I've had my buddies put me on speaker, and then
You know when some shit's about to go down.
Yeah,
Somebody's about to
but
say some shit. And you're
that's
just
what I was
like,
gonna
"All right, I'm gonna take
say.
you off speaker."
Yeah, and he had me on speaker, and this is a good friend of mine. He's had everyone has their disagreements with a significant other, right? And it's something he spoke to me about in the past, and we mentioned it. And this is an occasion when we were being discussing this, and they were right there, and he's like, I forgot to tell you on speaker, and I was like, now who looks like a dickhead? Me.
Well, you and him.
Well, both of us, but more to me because it looks you can I was like, that's just not cool. I was like, all right, yeah, because it's just some conversations you would have like outside your significant other, but it's like something that won't hurt them. They won't hear won't hurt them. Like some things just like there's no need for them to hear, or there's nothing that they gain out of hearing it. And like sometimes you're just trying to help your friend out and say like, oh, maybe you can do this, or maybe if they're trying to help make it up, you say, oh, like do this, you can hear whatever. And like,
how about we just never put anyone on speaker until they request it?
I don't know when I put people on speaker if I'm honest.
But sometimes like if you're driving, like it goes straight to that, and then you don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you could say like I'm driving, but then you don't know who's in the car, right? You don't know if it's just you, if it's even somebody else.
You got those guys from the cable companies, right? That say, hey, so I Spectrum, and I just want to know if you're interested. I try so hard to be polite to these people because you know at the end of the day they're just trying to do their job. They're just trying to sell, right? Have you guys had some of those recently? How do you guys?
The Spectrum people? Just call.
Yeah, because you're just trying to be nice. Calls.
Yeah, I just don't pick up if I don't know the number, and then if they don't leave a voicemail, then I just block it. No, I don't block it. But I don't pick up.
I had this guy the other day.
He's trying to be
a friend. Man. Yeah, and he's like, look, man. I was like, look, you guys are called in the past, and I know that some of the sports I watch are going to change network next year. Like hockey's going to go from NBC Sports, NBC on Sunday, but I don't know if you know this. It's just going to dissolve at the end of 2021. Really? It won't be a thing, right? So like hockey, ESPN bought the hockey rights and things like that. So I know that then I might have to change, but I was like, he's like, oh, if it should only take 1 minute, and I was like, try not to be rude here. Like
I would tell him fix my fucking Wi-Fi first. Get the fuck off this phone and fix my Wi-Fi.
Get your ass here.
I'm trying to do FaceTime, Zoom calls, and my shit just keeps acting up.
Dude,
really? And you're gonna talk to me?
Dude, I was getting like calls about voting for people, like for city council and voting for like mayor and shit.
All I get in the mail right now is
it's so annoying.
Sheets and sheets.
Such a waste. With that shit. But I remember one lady called me, and she was like, "Hey, is this David Bravo?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Are you a certified voter in Manhattan?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, have you heard of our candidate? Blah 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 blah. And we just want to count on your vote." And I said, "You know what? Actually, I don't think I'm going to vote anymore. Goodbye." Then I'm just hung up.
So that happened when I was with a client. I was with a client in the park, and some guy walks up to us, and he says, "Hi,
It's just
Are any of
annoying,
you-"
bro.
He's like, "Hi, are any of you registered Democrats?" I didn't say shit, and my client said, "Why, yes, I am." And he's like, "Can I borrow a minute of your time to talk to you about blah blah blah?" And I said, "It's
No.
not my time. He's paying for it, so you gotta talk to him." Which is kind of a dick move. I should have just said something else, but
She just said no.
No, I think that's.
but
I would have
he's
said that.
open to that. But I'm just being honest. It's not my time. So then he was like, "Sure, you got 1 minute." And the guy was pretty concise. He kept it down to 55 seconds. I said, "I'm
Wow.
timing you, bro." And I timed him. I put on my stopwatch and I timed him, and he was done in 55 seconds. And then he walked
Now pissed
away.
off.
He walked away.
Pissed off.
Right, exactly. He walked away. I said, "Your time's done. You're out." And
Just
then,
fill out, you're done.
then my client was very impressed. He was like, "Wow, it was pretty concise." Like, he's very respectful of like New Yorkers' time. He had his pitch down to the key because he was doing this person does this person does that, this person does that. And it was like 10 seconds left. And he was like, "And that's it." And then
Mine is like, I'm gonna vote for them if they bad.
dang.
But at the end of the
Oh,
day,
maybe.
that's a New Yorker thing,
People do that.
right? You have to know everything. You have to be concise. You have to be fast.
Yeah.
I always
you don't get that
forget
much time.
about you have to. Yeah, it's like the New York minute. Or I think whenever I drive anywhere outside of the city, because I don't really drive in the city, but as soon as that light turns green, bang, people
Oh,
are
yeah,
blowing
in
the
Bronx,
horn.
it's crazy.
It's a New York thing, and whenever you drive outside of New York, you made the observation that it's turned green. I start moving. Oh, no one's blowing the horn at me. That's like because it's a very New York thing.
Yeah,
and,
it's weird.
Right? And it's just
I happily honk the horn as soon as it turns green. I'm like, why aren't you on the other block yet?
Damn.
Why or the rebel? You have the rebel. Me. It's like the most intimidating thing. It's like I almost feel embarrassed to honk that thing.
Yeah, I almost got into an accident on the Rebel last summer.
Ow.
And, dude,
I don't know
just
how y'all
cut me
drive that
off.
shit, bro.
Oh, so fun.
Oh, so some of my buddies are, I mean, actually a large handful of my buddies drive motorcycles. And I'm the only one who doesn't have their motorcycle license. So they just keep sending me stuff. And they said that you can get your motorcycle license is not necessarily like your driver's license, where you have to take like 5-hour course and then you have to drive for like 20 minutes or whatever with the guy. Like, it's a whole day event where they give you the option of riding different bikes, and then they have you drive around with that bike until you like master some of the skills, and then from there they test you out. I didn't know that. I thought it was just similar to the driver's license. But anyway, that's another.
Dude, if you want to do it, let me know. I'll do it with you.
Oh, I'm definitely doing it. I'm definitely doing it this summer.
Yeah, let me know.
But anyway, yeah, somebody almost they cut me off on the Rebel, and it was like an Escalade, and he was like one of those taxi drivers or
They're the
whatever.
worst.
Yeah,
They don't follow any rules. They don't follow any rules.
He realized, I guess, that he had to make
Rebels.
a turn, so he just like cut me off, and like I rode into the sidewalk. Actually, like I bumped up and went to the sidewalk, but I didn't honk because that honk is like lame. And he saw me because then he stopped, and then I stopped, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And people were like, you know, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." I got off that shit. I was like, hell no, because it was just too, you know how it is when you get into like those. As soon, what did somebody say? I remember Greg was talking about a driving trip that these guys were going to do in like 2019, 2018, and they were going to switch off drivers. And Greg said, "Yo, I'm falling asleep, but as soon as I hear the side of the road, the boom, 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 he's like, I'm up." He's like, "I don't care what's going on." He's like, "I'm up."
You're awake.
But anyway, yeah. So once that happens, you just do what you gotta do. But
the driving test in the US is so much easier than it is in the UK, though. For cars,
yeah,
the driving test for cars here is 5 minutes. At least when I did it in New York State, like 6-7 years ago.
Mhm.
In the UK, when I did mine, it's 40 minutes. 40, right?
Oh, 40. That's
Why?
crazy.
40, yeah.
You gotta have a conversation with the person.
Well, and like I passed my first time, but like I kind of there were some minors that like maybe should have been a bit more serious, but other than that, like I was fine driving. But when I did the test here in New York, and everyone says, "Oh, it's 5 minutes," and it's like, "Oh, everyone's just like exaggerating, whatever." It literally was just take off, this turn, that turn, 3-point turn, this turn, come back, boom, that was it. And like when people told me they got 15 minors or they failed in that, I said, "What?
Right.
In 5 minutes?
How?
That's an average of like three minors a minute. Like, what are you doing?"
I
you
don't
drive on the
know.
wrong side of the road.
My
Like when
client did
someone
the
gets
same
that in
thing.
40 minutes, fine. Sorry, go on. You said your client did the same thing.
No, I interjected. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say is it's like when someone did that in 40 minutes, you're like,
Mhm.
okay, that's like a mistake every few minutes. It's like it's bound to happen. But like when someone's doing it every, I don't know. I mean, look, some people are better at driving than others, and that's just how it is. And it's all good. But you can say
we
your
gotta
client.
change the topic. All right.
No,
I got
it's
you.
just or the pressure of a
block is
test
hot.
as
The block
well.
is hot. No, I got
The
you.
pressure of a test. Like I bet
Yeah.
you 90% of people, if they were driving in a lesson, drove better than their test just because of the nerves of passing. Like if you said, oh, like
Yeah.
you know, can you imagine if you sat there in a lesson and they said, all right, you know what, based on that lesson, I'm gonna pass you just because you drive like a normal, safe person. So I don't know, but it is what it is. But anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna say that my client got into something where the person who they were driving with, like the instructor, said that they had to stop early because they had to use the bathroom. So he was like, pull over here. And he stopped, and he apparently did something wrong in that instance. And then when the guy came back from using the bathroom, he was like, yeah, you failed. I was like, what did he? I was like, that's fucked up. I was like, what, he shit on
That's
himself? And
fucked
now all of a
up,
sudden
bro.
he's gonna fail you because you couldn't park it in that instance. But that's pressure. That's unnecessary pressure. I want to make one other point to kind of like do the last fitness segment and then kind of wrap up and all that stuff. Do you guys want to talk about anything else before I kind of like throw this out there? It's pretty whack. It's not.
just the fact that we want to be able to do this all in person and have
Oh,
our
we're doing it
guests
in
and
person
people.
soon, guys.
Oh
yeah, we're working on it. We're going to be doing it real soon.
Yeah, we need
We're gonna be
we need
doing it in
audio,
a hot tub on Twitch.
audio engineers. We'll put
Where is this
something
hot
out
tub,
there.
David? Hook us up, man.
Huh?
These are all the birthday parties your dads are.
Something's going on with that room. We gotta get in that door. As soon as we get in that door in David's room, then we're gonna figure out all this stuff. Hot tub, the birthday parties, it's all gonna come together.
Bro.
Oh my
So I was reading a book. I was reading that Noah. Damn, fuck up his name.
Trevor Noah.
No, that Harari guy from *Sapiens*.
Oh yeah.
His
Noah Yuval Harari.
Noah Yuval Harari. I was reading Homo Deus. Deus? How you say it? Deus? Homo Deus. That's probably how you do it. Yeah, Homo Deus.
Yeah, Homo Deus.
Homo Deus. And in the beginning of the book, they speak about how in 2030, America is going to like face, I mean, these are all estimations. This is the second 2030 estimation we made today. So these guys, these statisticians are going hard. In 2030, a lot of shit's gonna happen.
Apparently.
That about like half the US population, if not more, is going to be obese. And then like the book just kind of went from there, and how there are a series of things that can help prevent that. One being fitness, but there's a lot of other factors that are working towards that, like working towards that goal and working towards that number. Automation and unemployment probably ain't helping, right? Like if that stat is true, then I can see how that the other one will be fulfilled as well. But it's crazy because Jacques and I were talking a little bit before the podcast on how the fitness industry in the US is one of those things that it's really taken off, and almost everybody and their mama is a fitness trainer or fitness coach in some aspect. But there is a real importance to kind of tackle the big issues, especially here at home, where we've got a lot of, it's just been unprecedented. Like this whole obesity epidemic is unprecedented, and we are in a unique time. And I think it's going to be an inflection point. We're going to have to either make some significant changes, or we're going to see a lot of people die because of something that was avoidable, which is really crazy. He was also talking about in the book how like it was like one of the leading causes of death in the US. Obviously this book was written like 5 years ago, so there are other factors that weren't accounted for, but still it's pretty crazy.
It's sad, I think, because a lot of things could definitely be avoidable, but when it comes to the culture, I think, of the United States, it's really hard.
It's also interesting on that. You said what was the percentage you said?
I'll look it up directly, but
Well,
keep
just
talking.
because I think of this when I think of when you speak about obesity in this country. I think some of my earlier observations when I moved over here 7 or almost 8 years ago was that with nutrition and um, eating or the culture, it's I feel it's commonly at either end of the spectrum, where it's some of the best. And look, we can all admit that, excuse me, some of the best fast food can be found in the States, and you know those chains have branched out to other parts of the world and whatever. And but I also think some of the healthier, cleaner foods. And I know we use like describe the word clean and this and that, but I want to mention like the healthiest, source foods. I think you can, whether it's organic, whether it's plant-based, whatever it is, I think it's a lot focused at either end of the spectrum. And I think it's, at least in my time living in the UK, I felt that foods were a bit more in the middle between those two extremes. And that's just something that I think in the US, when you speak about people with that obesity rate, but then you also have some of the fittest people on earth, for example, right, was Matt Frazier, which I'm pretty sure he's American, but it's North America. So, I mean, those are two just not extreme examples, but I just think it's those, and also I think it's fair to say that in the States, it can be quite regional on those obesity numbers, correct? Depending on the culture of the food as well, I think that can have a play into where the obesity rates are higher or lower in the country. But it's not the same in every state, is it?
It was a little bit crazier, the stat, than I thought. But,
it's like, again, what do you think there are 50 McDonald's in a small area?
Wait a minute, let me read this. That's true, too. Because there is like the density of some of these fast food places, especially not only here in New York, but like in the Midwest where it's not available. Like Sweetgreens isn't available. They don't even have that there, right? But I'm gonna read like I'm in class. Are you ready? Or David, like we're in church. David, you went to Catholic school, right?
Unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna take you back with this one. In 2014, more than 2.1 billion people were overweight, compared to 850 million who suffered from malnutrition. Half of humankind is expected to be overweight by 2030. In 2010, famine and malnutrition combined killed about 1 million people, whereas obesity killed 3 million.
Damn.
Crazy, right? Like when you hear that stuff, it's just...
doesn't sound real.
I thought it was just in the U.S., but this is apparently humankind. That's a heavy one.
Yeah, that's something.
But yeah, the availability is really a part of it too, and sometimes you don't really realize it because you don't travel out, to the outskirts. But in some of these places, it's very difficult to have certain foods. I think Keith was also speaking about that too. Like, not everything is available for different communities, and there's a classist issue that's at the root of that, and then it kind of stems from there.
Yeah, I think it's all. I also think there was a podcast I listened to when they spoke about, I can't even think what podcast it was about, what food is available, and someone was arguing that wherever you go, and if you don't have the economic funds or means, a can of beans and a can of chickpeas and like all these kinds of foods that I think part of that is, and I don't mean education in terms of like academic education, right, school and stuff. I'm thinking more as though education in general, nutrition. Like, if you don't know some of those things, you don't know better. It's like, for example, when I was checking out at Trader Joe's yesterday, he said, "Oh, you're vegetarian?" So no, I'm just trying to be a bit more plant-based, and I just trying to be more conscious of it. And he was, what was he saying? I just told him
to get chicken.
No, I'm not completely plant-based, but I try and make the majority of my foods plant-based. It just I feel better and all this and whatever.
But what was the thing? You said you were trying to get chicken in Trader Joe's, and then
no, I was saying like checked out, as in like I was being rung up on the register, like someone was
and they saw that there was
it was like a lot of like plant-based. It was like, no, there was no chicken, there was a lot of like plant-based foods, and he's like, why are you doing it? But I told him,
a conversation with you too.
Some do, some have no interest, right? It's like one or the other. It's so like, hey, how's it going? Like, hey, have you tried these? Oh, they're so good with this. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I haven't, but I guess I'll try with this now. And there's some people that just like, you have your own bags. Okay, just put it down here. Or some people in the beginning didn't want to. They said, I can't. Like, they wouldn't take cash because it was like transferable, and they wouldn't. Like, they couldn't pass me something. They had to put it down and I had to go take it. So that's another thing. But
You gotta get that crypto game up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you don't even have to worry about that. But long and short of it is, I said to the guy, I said, well, look, like I've just grown up predominantly, like, and it's not right or wrong with this. It's just how I grew up, where meat was at every meal, and that was a protein source. Again, this is no criticism. It's just like it's just what I grew up with, right? I wouldn't change anything by my upbringing, but that's why it comes to education, there was no one at my school talking about plant-based foods, right? It just wasn't it's only really until I started coming over here that I really started to experiment with it. But that goes back to the conversation about Keith's original point about like what's actually not achievable, like reach in our within our reach, right? Was accessible,
Available,
sorry, is what,
accessible,
available,
yeah.
accessible, right? So like, but someone mentioned a point of saying like, no, like if you know enough, but again, maybe that's something we should be taught. I always see these jokes about, hey, when am I going to use cos, sine, and tan in my daily life, right? Through math and like, right? I don't ever use it. And someone like, why don't you actually teach? I mean, it's just like a
that in finance, man. I feel like there's so much stuff.
Can you imagine if we were taught that?
Never knew about, like, economic stuff that would be so helpful for, you know, a lot of stuff, right? Like, because you can't really do much without money, right? But we don't really talk about money in school.
or even
budgeting, responsibilities,
interest. Yeah, interest, learning how to trade stocks.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure not everyone would be interested in it. So I don't know if that's more, you have to have a more.
But nobody was interested in cos, sine, and tan.
Right. It didn't really apply to everyday life. But all the other thing I was thinking of, imagine things such as like doing a renters application, right? That's stuff you don't, but that's stuff that you would learn. And like, I don't know if that's worth spending time in school about, but I think that's an interesting thing that you could,
life skills, I feel.
Yeah, you know,
be very helpful. And it should be taught by a dude who's been through some, or a lady who's been through some shit,
right?
And they're trying to set kids straight.
Just things that can help you, you know, like nutrition. But I just think with nutrition, that's a really great area of opportunity, because I think I always sucked at cooking, right? Always sucked at it, still suck at it. But that's I think
there was another point there too. One was that I was talking to somebody, and they run a program where they create gardens on top of rooftops in the city, and they did it in a couple of small private owned places, and then they started taking it to schools and having kids grow things in urban areas on top of their schools, like on their roofs, so that way they know tips and tricks on how to garden. Like, they have that skill set already, because that's something that's not practiced. And in the pandemic, a lot of places, I know, you know, we live in New York City, we have a lot of stuff that's just available, and people will just bring it to us because of the sheer amount of people that are in the city, and we're very fortunate for that. But not everywhere else in the world and in the country is like that. So a lot of people were struggling because they didn't have access to fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. They didn't have the skills to garden and create their own source of food. And now, similarly, when there was that blackout in Texas, people were talking about like power grids and not having power. And there was a conversation about being able to sustain a certain quality of life if everything were to just flip on its head. And it's not to say, you know, be a doomsday prepper, but there are certain life skills that we've grown to throw by the wayside, right? Our body is so efficient at saying, if you don't use it, then you lose it. And we're almost adopting the same strategy when it comes to life skills for sustainability, right? I should know how to garden just as David should know how to shower, right? Like, that should be a second nature thing. We know we should have that hand in hand. Like, hygiene doesn't matter if you can't eat, right? Like there's a lot of things that don't matter if you can't eat or grow for yourself. That should be a skill that's right there. That's right up there in importance and priority. Same thing with power. If we're going to rely on power so much for heat, for AC, for light, if we're going to rely on that stuff for survival, we should definitely be able to at least have a basic understanding as to how it gets there. Nobody's got to be freaking Ben Franklin, but we got to figure out a plan, especially when I'll say one more point, especially when you're threatened and you know that you don't have the system set up in place. Remember that fire that happened in my apartment building? And then Jacques was laughing at me because the next day, David, you might not remember this.
No,
I might not have told David, but there was a fire. It was a small fire. Somebody let some cook in their oven and forgot about it or whatever, and it just blew up in flames. And there was like smoke coming through the hallways and all that stuff. And the apartment smelled like fire. The fire alarm started going off, this and the third. Walked out to the hallway. Like me and my girlfriend at the time, now fiance, just got our shit together, ready to go. We were ready to jump. It was cold. It was December, so we threw on the North Face, looked crazy. Pajamas, sweatpants, and then the Tims. Said, let me get the Tims.
Tims, most importantly, the Tims.
And then just get ready to dip. But one of the things that occurred was everybody was fine, but the apartment still smelled like smoke. Our hair still smelled like smoke. Our clothes still smelled like smoke. And I told myself, I was like, I need to get fire extinguishers now while everything in my apartment still smells like smoke, before it all goes away. And then you forget about it. And then you just say, I don't need it anymore because it's not something that I use. But in those emergency situations, it is of utmost importance. And then as everything starts to normalize, it goes down and down and down and down and lower in terms of significance. But it's always important to have. So I was just going to say that, like, it's that I think something similar happened here with the pandemic, in regards to people knowing skills and learning skills. Super caffeinated, so I'm just shooting from the hip. But point is, gotta learn how to garden, just like you know how to wipe your butt, just like you know how to shower. It's very important.
Well, oh man, that was something I was going to point out when you were talking about
rambling. I was like you with the Islanders. I just went hard.
Yeah, I know. You guys are lucky the Islanders didn't win last night. That's why I'm not really talking about them. My blood pressure is seemingly coming to a lower. No, there was something you talking about. Fire, skills.
It was probably before, like the gardening on the roofs. I don't know.
Oh, with like recycling as well. Like
that's important too.
That's important as well. And like much I'm like I Georgine, for our listeners, remember she's done this for a while, and she donates her compost. So I've seen her do it for a while. I'm like, oh, like how would you? So this week I just kept it in my fridge with the compost, so like the avocado, the rest of the avocado, the banana skin, and Alex has, I think, grapefruit. So for those of you that are in New York City who don't already know this and are interested in like dropping off your compost, as opposed to just putting it in trash and just like rots, and it's so nasty when it like rots in a trash bag. Usually when trash smells or is the worst or is leaking, it's usually like food.
Yeah.
And so I know there's something on Sundays by the Natural American History Museum, but in Union Square on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 8 and 5 p.m., so 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., there's a site, the northeast part of the park, where you can just drop it off. And yes, it's only my first week doing it. It's not like, oh no, amazing. But I just thought, for those of you who are interested in doing it, and if you're in that direction anyway, it just, to me, it's like something that I was probably not conscious of or didn't care about a year or two ago with like recycling, and now I'm a lot more.
What does that help with exactly? I don't know.
So 100%, that's a very good point, and I should probably know more about it than before speaking about it. But I understand that it's used sometimes to help with when you're planting soil in garden spaces.
I see what you're saying.
So, but it takes,
that could be reused.
Yeah, and and essentially like the earth will break it down, right? And like plastic, it takes
basically for fertilization.
Right, but the fact is, it can just like get broken down and disintegrate, right? Someone listening to this as a biologist is going to shred me, but anyway, it's like, actually in my first year of college, I had a disagreement with this. I said, oh, it's not like banana peel won't disintegrate. It's like, it is. It's a natural source. Like, and that's a natural food. It'll just take a little bit longer than something else.
I see
but
what you're saying.
It just, to me, I don't know. It's just something that I'm trying to be.
Nah, if you
more
can.
comfortable with.
I mean, that's the thing too, because I think a lot of people won't do it because, like, why am I just gonna have rotten tomatoes and rotting bananas in my apartment
And you get the
for
flies in the summer. You get the
five?
as
Yeah,
well, and
those flies are
I get too
crazy.
many, and
But
so
yeah, listen, I had another
I know I can't remember my other thoughts. Sorry, guys.
no, it's all good. I had a come to Jesus moment with the was it the Whole Foods delivery thing.
Yeah.
So I was chilling, did a little trip, came back. This was before like everything got lifted and New York City became Florida. But when I came back, when I came back, I was planning on using those services of like you order something on Whole Foods or Amazon and then it gets sent to you the food or whatever, so that way you don't have to go to a grocery store and you can
I did
effectively
Fresh Direct for a
quarantine.
little bit, and like Amazon delivery was really good.
Right. So one of the things that I had a problem with, I had two problems. So one was the delivery. When it came in like a ton of bags, like a ton of, brown paper bags, but just bags nonetheless. And I was just thinking in my head, I was like, damn, that's kind of wasteful. It was super convenient. I'll tell you that. Like it took me like 10 minutes to finish shopping versus when you go to the store, you got to walk to the store, you got to actually shop, you got to find the stuff, and then you got to come back. But it took like 10 minutes to just click, boom, boom, everything's done. But the amount of bags I didn't feel comfortable
Crazy.
with it because then you just start breaking it down and then throwing it out, breaking it down, throwing it out. And then the other thing that I had a problem with was I was like, you know what? Fuck that. Like, I shouldn't necessarily have somebody come over here to deliver it. I should just go there myself, but I'll still do the ordering online because it was just 10 minutes. And then so I did that. And then they had like these space bags. Have you seen those bags? They look like bags wrapped in
Ziploc?
Pretty
aluminum
cool,
Or-
huh?
Nah, it's not Ziploc, but it's like that
The
the
cold
idea
stuff.
is that it keeps cold stuff cold, so it looks like
Okay.
a space bag. Like when you see it, the tinfoil hat people, the people who
Oh, I think I know what it is. Yeah,
it's like
yeah, yeah.
that. So I went there and there were those bags and they were huge. They were like this big, like wider than my shoulder width. I know my shoulders aren't that big, but like wider than my shoulder width. And I was just like, damn, now I went from 5 paper bags to 5, space
Heavy
bags.
duty. Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just go to the store. I'll do the normal stuff. But it's one of those things where it becomes so easy just to click
Mm-hmm.
and have it be done in 10 minutes versus you go into the store, you using reusable bags, you bagging your own stuff, which is a little bit more effortful. But I know a lot of people, I told myself, I was like, I'm going to do this until I can't do this anymore. Like if I'm old or if I have a problem where I can't walk or I can't move, then I'll utilize it because it's available. But for right now, like, I'm 31. I'm good.
You're good.
I
I
should
use
do this.
reusable bags, and it's funny because last summer we really wanted to avoid using the subway, right? As a lot of people did when it was 2020, summer in New York City with COVID, like not wanting to be on the subway and all this good stuff. So we really made sure we'd be biking to go to Trader Joe's, right? Like when I went about bikes. And then she said, "Oh, we're gonna do the winter." I was like, "I'll still do the winter." And the whole winter, I did it. You just have to wrap up like your gloves. And Angel, I know you rode your bike the winter. You came in the snow. Same thing now in summer. I like you said, I'm going to do this for as long as I can, and like I think eventually we'll move out of the city at some point, but we won't be able to just jump on a bike, go down 10, 20 minutes down the road, pick up your groceries, spend like
Yeah.
I'm like you there. Like I want to be simple and I want to be in and out as fast as I can. So I don't want to be in Trader Joe's more than like love that place. I went past it this morning and I was like, I don't need anything. I was like, just to go in. Like
There's
I'm like
crazy
that.
lines though. Sometimes it's like
But
you need
it
like
would
one or
not
two
at 70
things.
at 76th Street. I haven't been to that one since before COVID. If you guys go, this is kind of like it's a bit inconvenient because it's farther downtown for you guys. But the one in Flatiron or Chelsea, sorry, you want to get down? The one in Chelsea, right? I'll give you an example. There's never a line there. It's always in and out. There was a Saturday afternoon when I went to Bed Bath and Beyond. Sorry about the siren, guys. And on the 90 something street, right? 95th Street in Amsterdam, whatever it was. And then I'm like, you know what? Trader Joe's is around the corner from here. There were 2 lines. And I was like, sod this. So what I do is, sorry, guys. I'll go to the. I literally took the city bike all the way down to Flatiron, Chelsea. Got there in like 10:15. Went in the store. I was out in 15 minutes. So 30 minutes in and out, like down and out. Whereas I would have probably been in line at the one on 94th Street, whatever it is, for like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's I just think, but I know for you guys, it's like us like going $100 downtown for a store when you have one in 90 something, like doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, if you're
But
gonna do that compost thing, it might make more sense, right? Like if you're gonna
well,
go all the
yeah,
way down,
if
I gotta check to
that's,
see if they got that in Harlem.
I think they would, and it's not, and this is not like I spoke with a client earlier about it, and it wasn't like me having a dig. It was more just, oh, like is that something you guys do? Or, and again, I know people have been doing it for longer, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn because the first day I did it, but you know what? I had my client today at 7:15. I brought it with me. It's costing my bag a little bit heavier because I had like 10 days worth of like compost. But then what's really good, guys, I didn't know if you knew this or I didn't know this. When you drop,
That's fucking gross.
what is no, but it's not as if it's just in one bag. It's not like there's banana peels hanging on my bag. It's like I like double, triple wrapped it up.
Alfie's
Shit is
doodle in
nasty,
there.
bro.
And listen, and the good thing is they, I think for cardboard bags as well, but they have plastic recycling bin at the end as well. So you drop your compost, then you put the recycling that material you brought it, the food in, waste in, and at the end it's like boom, boom, boom. That's it.
I don't even know what you said in that last. You said, "I love, love,
Oh,
love." What are we doing with the electronics and batteries and stuff like that? Have you guys disposed of batteries? I know
I
there's
put in
like
the metal
certain
recycling.
sites.
I don't know if that's.
Oh shit!
I throw my batteries out the window.
All right.
I'll tell you guys a story what I was doing with my food waste the last 2 weeks in my old apartment. I'll tell you guys that off air because I told my client and he kind of was like,
yeah. Let's wrap it up though because
up.
we got some good time. I mean, we've just been shooting from the hip, but it was good. That's cool.
Shoot from the hip. I've never heard that expression, but just shooting shit, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just freestyle. That's what I was implying. Oh, just so you know, I'm gonna tell you this now. I should actually wait until you leave New York City. Actually, I'm gonna wait till you leave New York City and then I'll let you know. All right. We're gonna wrap this up.
All right, guys.
Catch you later.
All right, bye, guys.
Catch
Bye.
you in person real soon.